Welcome to the Mike Litton Experience podcast. Mike has over 31 years experience in real estate, finance, and investing. He's passionate about being a father, a teacher, a realtor, an investor, and a leader. Everyone has a story, and our passion is to help them tell it. And now, introducing the host of the Mike Litton Experience, Mike Litton.
So what can you expect from the Mike Litton Experience? You can expect stories that will inspire, motivate, advice that will sharpen your focus, and expert information on real estate, finance, and market conditions. I'm going to put everybody else before me, right? Is a dead end conversation.
Yeah.
You can put everybody ahead of you. You can put everybody ahead of you, but you'll die early, right? And you'll die out of shape. And, so it's a dangerous trap to fall into. But you're right. If it's a big enough priority for you, you will make the sacrifice. You will exercise more. You'll set up, tiny tables around.
Whatever it took. Yeah.
You'll figure out a way to make it work, right?
Whatever. Absolutely. So that ties into that. When my youngest was 4, so that's like 11 years ago, two of my girls started running with a friend of ours who was a coach. And I said, hey, I think he was one of our soccer dads. Now they moved away. And I was like, okay, they're running. I'm just going to go with them. And it only took a couple of times for me to get hooked. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been on this treadmill. Forget the treadmill. I'm going to call it the dreadmill now. I'm done with it. And I went, first was 3 miles, then we went 6 miles. Then I was like, next thing I know, I think I ran a marathon. And then from then on, I loved it so much because it was like relief. And I still go with my kids. I'll take some of the kids. A couple of times we took the little one, then he fell a few times, like, no. And then, I just think that God allows things in our lives that what we need at the moment. And then I started doing ultra running. That was a crazy time in my life. I loved it. The community. I did 3 100-mile races, a couple of 50, a cut of 75. And I know now I do the same. How did I do it? I don't know that I'll ever go back, maybe down the road, because it takes a lot of time, a lot of commitment, but it was a part of my personal development where I learned so much about myself, because it's 10% is the body moving, 90% is your mindset. Yeah. If your mindset is not there, just like with businesses, it won't happen. Yeah. So, because I tell you, when the night comes, you don't want to move. You just want to stay there. So, to keep moving. But I also did a lot of that running with with my daughters, like my daughter, Regina. She would come with me and, stay up with the night and have coffee. It's the whole experience. And it's just like with businesses or life, when you have a group of friends that are working together towards something, a common goal, you stick to it. We would sing at night. The things, you get so tired, you start seeing things and phantoms, and we did so much together. It's a common goal. So it was amazing. I don't know if I'll do it again. However, having my kids be part of it was amazing. Yeah. So then going back to the sports, then I started running faster, slower. I met this guy at I think it was Miramar Lake, who was older. And I said, how do you guys run so fast, so good? He says, well, you need to stop running ultras. I'm like, okay, I'll stop. And I started running faster and training. And I gave it running. I still run till today, but I don't, ever since COVID, it's almost like I don't race anymore. And that's okay. I run for fun. I run with my dog, and it's just for health. Like I said, I make a priority every day I run, and occasionally, or more often, depending on my schedule, I do go to the gym. So what I want to focus today, that opened up a lot of showing me and my own insecurities and where my weak points are. However, what I want to share with everybody is that, unfortunately, and very surprisingly, 4 years ago, one of my boys died, John Paul, and it was very, very, very hard. It still is. Like, I've done a lot of work, and his death, I had to make a decision. I said, is this going to make me a better person, or am I going to stay depressed? Yeah. So I chose the best, but through God's grace, right? So it led me to different things. And one of the things I want to talk about is I still continue with that business, but it led me to the Psy community, PSI seminars. Huge shout out. I can put a link or something. Amazing personal development. I was talking to one of the speakers on a training through my business, and he started asking me questions, and then it made me realize that I had chosen to live in a certain way for a certain amount of time because of things that I grew up with. I was still reacting. So to make it the story short, I went, and it was right after the divorce and right after my son's death. So I went to that seminar, which led to a different seminars. You do it's a basic, which I'm going to take my two youngest very soon in January. It's a 3-day course, and then you can choose to go to different. And as I moved to different classes, I've realized how much I've changed as a woman, how much I've grown, and how much I still need to grow, right? However, because of my son's death, it has moved me to be a better person, knowing that I have to work on myself. And I think at that moment was when I realized, wow, I'm so grateful that I get to work from home, because I don't regret any of those circles or reading. Or he used to say, Mom, can I please marry you? And I said, shoot, I should have married him. We should have done something, because what happened to him, we still don't know. So he had a birthday, and that was March 6th when he turned 19. And on March 11th, he died. He fell asleep. We still don't know till today, because every autopsy came back as normal death or natural death. That means the heart stopped beating. There was no drinking, no drugs, no nothing. They don't know. So it's like, with little kids, they have a SIDS, sudden infant death syndrome. Well, they have it for teenagers as well. He just fell asleep. But I have to tell you, Mike, I was about to go on a trip, and a friend of mine was going to watch my kids, and she kept saying, Pam, I need you to cover my prayer shift at the church from 4 to 5 in the morning on this Monday. I'm like, oh, okay. I said, I got to go because she's going to watch my kids. And when you wake up in the morning, you're like, I'm not going to go. It's 3:30. I need to go back to sleep. And I woke up, and then I went and I spent the whole hour praying. At St. Mary's, I was praying, and then I finished with my day. I went out with my day, and then we did find him at about 11 a.m. And he, according to the coroners, he had just fallen asleep, a few hours before. It was definite that he was dead. So then when his girlfriend came at night from Vegas, that's where she used to live, she said, I don't know what happened. We were on the phone till 3:45 in the morning talking about getting married and this and that. And it dawned on me once I went to see a grieving counselor. He says, did you realize the time that he's seeing God for the first time? Because I estimated his death was at 4 in the morning. I was in front of Jesus praying. So it's like it all came together. It's like, and the prayers of a mother will save their children. So for me, it was like, whoa, God, God knew this was coming, and he prepared it. So I have a lot of acceptance from my faith, from that, in that aspect. However, you did mention before, okay, let me tie this, because it's a whole lifetime that we're talking about. So I've been taking different classes. So one of the classes I took all through the PSI is something called PLD, as Pace Setters Leaders Dynamics. And it's a class that you take for 90 days, and you work so much on your goals and things that you want to achieve. And one of the coaches, Nelly, invited me after we were done with the class to take a look at this business. And it really touched my heart. And let me explain why. And Mike, I don't want to be negative, but that's a factual reality that our healthcare system is pretty broken up in the United States. It needs help. I love my country. I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. When I hear God bless America, I start crying every time. I love my country, but there's work to do. So it's not perfect, but I love it to death. So when John Paul died on March 11th, and 4 weeks before, my son had a car accident, a minor one. It wasn't huge. It was Valentine's Day. I was celebrating my daughter's birthday, who was born on Valentine's Day, and he was going to drive my younger kids from school. And it was like on Citrus Avenue. It wasn't he walked away. However, the next days after, he says, Mom, I have a headache. I have a headache. I have a headache. So I called his doctor, and at the time it was an HMO. And when I called the doctor, they referred him to a chiropractor. As I look back, and I did take him to the emergency room. Thank God I did steps. Obviously, this is part of God's design. But if I can help a family get better care, because my son did not need a chiropractor at the moment, he needed to be seen by a real doctor. And so this is why I'm very passionate about my anti-aging health and wellness business that I've been internationally with Argentina, Chile, Mexico. However, the other one that Nelly introduced me to, we're helping people get better health care, more affordable and better health care. So we agree, right, Mike, that our country needs a little bit of help from that area.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So that has been a blessing for me. And that's not what I'm doing. I'm working both businesses, but that's what I do. And this too, God has allowed me to do this from my home. So as a single mom, I'm able to be present for my children as much as I can.
Right.
Like today, I'm running to a soccer game after. So it's like, it's finding balance. And one of the things that came out from that, so another class that came out of trying to block a little bit of the sunshine that is coming in. One of the classes is, actually, I love the sunshine, but if not, it'll be blurry. So after that class, there's another class that I took. It was 8 days in Houston. Just recently, I went in October, and it's called WLS, Women's Leadership Seminar. And we work so much in ourselves. It's literally 8 days. And I'm not going to say a lot of details. Again, somebody says, hey, tell me more, because we want to keep that, I don't know if the word is secrecy, but we want to keep that beautiful energy. So when people go, get surprised. But one of the things is there is activities that we do. And I realized I want to discover more of who God made me to be, right? And we spent 8 days with literally 50 women in this beautiful ranch and doing a lot about myself work. And I realized I want to work on my femininity. And usually femininity, masculinity can be taken in the wrong way, but it's who did God call me to be nurturing, and to love myself, but also to be nurturing, because there's a lot that I learned when they describe masculinity and femininity. It's like sometimes, because now we women work so much, it's so easy to become too masculine, not in our appearance, but in our approach to things. And I want to nurture that femininity to be the loving, tender mother who achieves goals, but I don't want to lose that. Does that make sense, what I'm trying to express? Yeah. So I am also very, very grateful, because I talk lightly about having the death of a son is not easy. Okay. I was so hard, but I want to thank God for my healing, my family, my friends. And I want to mention to a lady who God put in my life, Candace. She has a beautiful clinic. It's called, I think it's Beautiful Minds. I don't quote me the name, but they do a lot of, I don't know, I can't think of the name right now, but they do, it's a lot of healing of the brain, because they realize that it's not by a cranial, it's going to come before we're done. So basically, because we don't realize the trauma when it happens, our brain suffers and it stays there. It's no different than how she described it as this. It's like before, when you used to break an arm, they say, okay, good luck, let's see what happens. But when the X-ray machine came in, they're like, oh, okay, this is what happened to the bone. Let's fix it this way. Same happens. Now they can see the brain waves, and they can see when there's trauma and there's pain, that whatever reason happened. So she had a retreat up in the mountains, and it was past Ramona, and I was there, and it was so beautiful, because we all, many of the moms, it was only women only, you learn so much about healing and how we have to take care of that brain. It affects our sleep, it affects our mood, it affects our relationship. And she helped me go through because we found him, I held him, because we want to erase those memories. We want to bring memories that are uplifting. How do I remember him? Yeah, and you're gonna giggle, because look, when I do my meetings and everything, he's like next to me. So, but it's how do I erase that? And I share this, so if people hear this and like, wow, I want to heal my brain, my memories, there's options. And I'm so grateful that I got to work with her for several weeks, and going through the motions or repeating what happened, then I'm able to share. I'm able to talk to you about it without crying, because there's healing that God can bring, through light. So that's in a nutshell my story.
It takes effort, though. It takes effort. That's not easy. It's not easy.
No.
So you've worked really, really hard, I can tell, to get to this point. So I'm proud of you. That's
it's hard to explain. Like literally the first few days, I couldn't even move. I couldn't eat. I lost so much weight, but I would still run. I would meet my coach. I'd say, let's go running. And I would tell to myself, okay, from here to the trash can, I'm not going to cry. Okay, this is like what I can do. I'll run as fast as I can. I'll get to the trash can. I can fall apart. I can talk about him. So little by little, I started telling myself what not to focus on in order to, because I have a friend of mine, sweet Kim. She just lost her husband unexpectedly like that. And that pain comes in waves. So literally like waves, like the ocean. I don't know if you ever had anything like that happen, Mike, but it comes like waves and you just have to work with the wave. Okay, it's coming. It's the pain. It's here. Deal with it and then move on. But as a consequence, something that I learned through the classes that I've taken through PSI is like, I learned so much to cope with that pain that I almost, I had to retrain myself to feel joy because, you know, it's dangerous when we start living here. I don't want to be too sad, but then when I can't be too sad, I can't be too happy. Right. So we have to learn, I have to learn to experience both. But for a while, that's all I could do. I was like, I need to stay here because otherwise I'm going to fall apart. Because I looked at my other 7 kids and I'm like, I need to be here for you. I need to be a strong woman. Yeah. Anyway, so I think, you know, everybody experiences grief in a different way. I thank God that I chose life and I chose to move on. And I chose healing. And I also did quite a bit of things. I'm going to give a huge shout out here. I don't know if you ever heard of the St. Elizabeth Hospice. They're in, I think they're all over, but they do a lot.
We used to have our last Keller Williams office was in that building.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah. So I would go there and we did a lot of things. They help you. You know, they did some.
We hope you enjoyed another episode of the Mike Litton Experience. If you did, do us a favor, smash that subscribe button, tell your friends, family, and coworkers about our program, and wherever you get your podcasts, please leave us a rating. It helps us to connect with quality people just like you.
And that's a wrap. Another episode of the Mike Litton Experience in the books. Reach out to Mike on Instagram at Litton Realty. Want to meet with Mike? Check out calendly.com/Rio760.